Hi, Dove. How are you?
Really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm loving what I've seen so far of Big Nate. Ellen is so much fun. And I was just wondering, what was your experience with Big Nate, the comic strip or the books, if any whatsoever, before you got the role?
I wasn't aware of Big Nate and their really devout following before I read what would turn into our show. I just knew that it was very beloved, and I knew that it had its own comic, which to me, I would never pretend to be like a massive comic person in the way that like I know some people actually are. But I was a big fan of. Actually, funny enough, there was this like strange event that happened every year in my really small town where people would go and kind of, it was sort of like a huge sale that like everybody would give all of their, like a massive town garage sale. And there was
Okay.
a special section for comics.
Mm,
And that was always one of the first places I went was to like hopefully find like an original Batman comic. Like I was always really like, for some reason, this was like very important to me.
mm.
Because I ended up loving Marvel and I ended up loving DC and like that just became very important to me. But that's kind of like the comic world that I lived in, not in a
Right.
devout way. Again, not in a devout way. I've run into trouble with that in the past. I'm
I believe you
yeah.
in a normal amount, in a normal way.
Oh no, not even that. It's just like I know that there are some people that are like really truly like comic book people.
Yeah.
I would never want to step on their
Mm,
toes. But I did. I grew up loving kind of the romance of comics and like I loved Archie comics growing up. But I've kind of like that's not really the space I inhabit anymore. But when they came to me with Big Nate, I was so excited because the property itself has such a reminiscence. It's like a love letter to
mm.
classic animation, classic cartoon style, but with like this really kind of gorgeous visual of retold. It's CGI and 2D, and they use
Mm.
natural light. Which
Oh,
to me,
wow.
when I first saw the cartoon, I was like, I couldn't grasp what it was. I was like, why is this like pinging to me? Like, what's happening that is so different about this? And they're like, well, our animation is CGI with 2D. The 2D is like paying homage to how the original comics were, giving a sort of like a very cartoonish feel and movement to a very grounded in reality setting with the lighting and the way that they have managed to like make it feel so nostalgic. So I don't know. I was really excited about being a part of something that felt like going back to all of my favorite things, but my favorite cartoons growing up, but bringing such a beautiful kind of new elevated light to them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I absolutely felt that kind of like familiar vibe from the animation. It feels fresh, even though, as you've already said, it's harking back to something old. As for Ellen herself, what is it like for you to build that, glorious war of sibling rivalry with Ben, who is, ironically not younger than you?
It's funny. I very rarely ever get to work with any of the other cast, but in the past, when I did work with Ben a few times when we were trying to figure out like how we were going to record through the pandemic, there were a few times where we were all together. And it was mind blowing watching Ben do his thing. I was like, I need to step up my game. I was like, this is something, you know what I mean? Like, I was like,
Yeah.
is this, he's so funny, a never ending well of creativity, so inspiring to watch in that way. I love working with people who are like better at something than me.
Mm-hmm.
It's inspiring. It's like,
Right.
wow, that's like what you can do with this field. Yeah, I mean, I would say, so there was less like building of a relationship because we never really worked together and more just like, we do get the kind of weird after effect of like, we do have like a nice chemistry. He records first usually,
Oh, okay.
as is kind of the protocol for something like this. And then I get to kind of work off of that. And it's like a really interesting chemistry to build with someone, it's actually not unlike when I was building chemistry, like with myself. Like, how do you do that? Like for like
Right.
a show,
Mhm.
it's like, it's a very interesting way to create storytelling is like after the fact chemistry,
Right.
but it's fun.
That is very interesting. So yeah, of course, it's difficult already on one level to do it in the pandemic, and then to be bouncing off of someone who's not there. I'm sure is very very different from the normal what you would normally expect when you are acting. But you also have storylines outside of squabbling with Nate, of course. What is it that you're most excited to explore about Ellen, or that you hope to get to do?
I think something fun about Ellen is that she is, I mean, it's really a product of the show itself, but the whole show, I think I went into it kind of like nervous and really trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna build this character and they like expect this and this. And I was like, I'm gonna really like be a good student with this. And the longer I was a part of the cast, the more I was like, oh no, they really want just like they want the individual to bring what they're bringing, but also the more unhinged I was, the better it worked. Like the comedy is so off the wall. Mm-hmm. And the more you kind of feed that fire, the more it also then influences the character. So I think what I'm excited about with Ellen is that she just gets more and more ridiculous. Like the storylines are insane, like truly insane. There's even one storyline that I don't want to give away, but I turned to the producers. I was like, can we do that? And he was like, yeah, we checked like 5 or 6 times. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy to think that that is wild. And he was like, yeah, no, for sure. We barely got away with it, but like, we're doing it. I was like, okay, like it's really, I think what's fun about it is that the creators are so passionate about it, and it's about creating like really wonderful content and like really wonderful programming that is like actually funny rather than like doing everything by the books. Like this should be howl with laughter. So I'm just really excited for people to see how the ridiculous heights that we're allowed to stretch to, including Ellen.
I am very excited to see that. Now, outside of Big Nate, what else is coming up for you? Are we going to get some more Schmigadoon? Do you know?
I can't comment on that. I can't tell you anything about that, but definitely I would say that the cast and I are very in love, and we would all come back for a season 2. But that's definitely something that I think we're all, fingers crossed. I'll keep you posted on that. And then also I have a movie coming out called Good Morning, with Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox and Pete Davidson. That's coming out in a couple of months, I think.
All right.
Yeah, it's a very fun one. I can't actually tell you anything about that. It's this weird band of brothers where we're like, hey, we're like blood pact. Nobody talks about it.
Well, I love just the names alone has me intrigued. So thank you so much. I cannot wait to see more of Big Nate and more of you everywhere else.